with Donnie saying that, let's give Donnie his preview of his school right now. The Iowa Hawkeyes up next in our preview. Iowa, pretty predictable program, honestly, under Kirk Ferentz. Aside from the COVID-shortened 2020 season where they went 6-2, so still a really good year for Iowa. Iowa has won at least 8 games in every year since 2015, thanks to their stellar defenses. However, they have not really turned into a true college football playoff contender because the offenses have lagged behind right now. In fact, the Hawkeyes have been outside the top 100 of offensive EPA per play in each of the last 4 years, but they've also been in the top 20 of defensive EPA per play in each of those 4 years as well. Now they're hoping a transfer quarterback in Mark Gronowski, we'll talk about in a little bit, can help out that offense, kind of become more at least average this year. He won 2 FCS national championships at South Dakota State and won the Walter Payton Award in 2023, which is basically the FCS version of the Heisman Trophy. He'll have an elite offensive line blocking for him, but the Hawkeyes will have plenty of questions pretty much everywhere else on offense. But Dawn, what is the biggest strength of the Hawkeyes right now?
I think you think of Iowa and you think of physical football on both sides of the ball, and that starts on the offensive and defensive lines. They've got your number 6 offensive line in the country, led by Logan Jones and Jennings Dunker. They're the center and the right tackle. And then you got Aaron Graves and a really good defensive line, top 15 to 20 in the country as well, especially in run defense. It's a really good football team. They want to run and stop the run. It's the same old story with the Hawkeyes, and it starts in the trenches. I think especially with their offensive line, and I really like the adjustment that they made with Tim Lester coming in as the offensive coordinator last year, putting in more of an outside zone scheme, trying to get to the edge and allow their backs to make one cut and get explosive runs going. So you really look at Iowa and you go, okay, we're in for a dogfight in the trenches every single week, no matter who's playing them.
Again, Iowa's maybe the most predictable program in the country. We could write this preview basically every year saying trenches, biggest strength. It's always been trenches for Iowa. They're always good at offensive line, especially offensive line and defensive line too. And yeah, number 6 O-line for me in the country. And if we did a top 15 for defensive lines, they would have been in that top 15 too. They have a really good defensive line coming back next year. Biggest question mark, as it always is for Iowa, where will the offense come from? Because aside from the offensive line, which last year was one of the best offensive lines in college football, really the only source of offense for them was running back Caleb Johnson, who was, of course, taken by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL draft. So now they're hoping that a transfer quarterback in Mark Gronowski can help him out on offense. They had the second worst offense in the Power 4 last year in terms of EPA per pass, but last year he had a 76.8 passing grade at the FCS level. So there are some question marks with him as a quarterback, and of course in that receiving core too, and of course who's going to replace the production left behind by Caleb Johnson. But Dalton, let's talk more about their new quarterback in Mark Gronowski, who, like I said, 2-time FCS national champion, a Walter Payton Award winner too. What should we expect from him moving up to the FBS level now?
So I think he's a lot of what Iowa and Kirk Ferentz and Tim Lester are looking for. There's a couple of things here. Down at South Dakota State, one, he's a winner. He won 2 FCS national championships down there, and in 2023 won the Walter Payton Award as effectively the FCS Heisman Trophy, right? Yep. So you're talking about a guy who's a pocket passer who comes from a run-heavy offense, 6'3", 220 pounds. Over the last 4 years, he was the 4th highest-graded quarterback in the FCS and had the 3rd best turnover-worthy play rate in the last 3 years, I should say, with a 1.7% turnover-worthy play rate. I think what Iowa's going to like about him is that he doesn't beat himself. He doesn't always make spectacular rocket arm throws. I'd say he's got an average to maybe above average arm. He's got solid mobility, 400 rushing yards in each of his 4 seasons as the Jackrabbit starter. So a guy who gives you a little bit of everything, but most importantly, does not beat himself, right? Doesn't create the most explosive plays all the time. I think the biggest thing for me is that how much does he raise the ceiling on this offense? His deep ball sometimes kind of flutters. He's got around a 50-yard ceiling on that, so I don't think they're going to be getting too vertical too often, except if they're trying to get down the seams in play action, right in that 20 to 30-yard range. And the other thing too is not a whole lot of games, and obviously at top end FCS football is really good, but only 2 games against FBS opponents. Ironically, one was Iowa and the other was Oklahoma State this past year. In those 2 games had a 40.5 passing grade. So it's really a question of, look, He's solid. We know what he is as an elite FCS quarterback. Can he come up against Big Ten defenses? And obviously with going to be a little bit less separation than he used to have with some of those receivers at South Dakota State down on that level, can he find a way to make tight window throws and create explosive plays? Or is this once again going to be a 5 yards at a time passing game?
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Howell in the chat is asking, does Iowa have another prospect at tight end again right now? I don't think they have one that's really noteworthy for the NFL draft just yet. Maybe someone will break out. I know Addison Strenga, they're really excited about in that program right now too. The senior tight end for them. Not really right now at tight end, but the offensive line is loaded. And we could have gone with either of their star offensive linemen in Jennings Dunker or Logan Jones. We're going to highlight Logan Jones here right now, though, as one of the best centers in college football. In fact, he was the highest graded center in the Power 4 last year with an 83.6 PFF grade. Really dominant in the run game. He led all Power 4 centers with an 82.3 run blocking grade. And despite only weighing 293 pounds, he's a powerful player who gets to the second level with ease at that size. And also, pretty good pass blocker too, placing 10th among all Power 4 centers with a 1.8% pressure rate allowed last year. He's my number 4 returning interior offensive lineman in college football. He's an outstanding player. Could have declared for the draft last year and been one of the top centers in the draft, but instead returns to Iowa as one of the best centers in the country.
Absolutely, and I think a player you mentioned listed at only 293 who really benefited from the system switch again to Tim Lester. This whole offensive line, Jones and Dunker, all these guys really good in that outside zone scheme. So I think he's allowed now to use his athleticism to his advantage, and that's why that run blocking grade is so good.
So we know they also have a great defensive tackle on that D line too. We're spotlighting here.
I know we get down and dirty here with Iowa, don't we, with the offensive and defensive lines? But on the inside, they've got a really good pass rusher in Aaron Graves. 12 sacks and an 82.3 pass rush grade over the last 2 seasons. Those are both the best marks among returning defensive tackles since the start of 2023. So you're talking about a guy who was a former wrestler. He's got pretty good twitch. He's got really good hand usage. I think even in the run game, when it comes to getting off blocks, he uses a combination of strength and athleticism that not a lot of other defensive tackles in the country have. Aaron Graves, he's very workmanlike. He's rugged. He's kind of just the classic Iowa defensive lineman, right? But when you talk about this team creating a pass rush, especially when they're only sending 4, Aaron Graves on the inside is the guy to watch.
So, Dalton, their win total is set at 7.5 right now. You're taking the over or under, and what's the bottom line for the Iowa Hawkeyes?
When's the last time they were under that?
It feels low.
Well, I guess they went 7-5 in the regular season last year.
So yeah, it would have.
So I guess it would have been under that last year. But I mean, their offense was, other than Johnson. This is the question I think really is when you're talking about this number. Is Gronowski the answer? And do they just, as always, I mean, we ask this question do they have enough on offense? Do they have enough? Because they're going to win. They're going to win at least. They're going to make a bowl game on their defense alone. But
they actually won 8 games in the regular season last year.
They lost the bowl game to Missouri. That's right. Okay, so they won. Okay, so we'd have to check on the last time they were under 8 in the regular season. But there's going to be a handful of games they win just with their defense. But again, you're talking about other good defensive teams they're playing though. Iowa State, Rutgers, Indiana, Wisconsin, Penn State, Oregon. I mean, there's Nebraska even. There's a lot of teams here where you go, Iowa's playing all these 50-50 tight games all the time. And I think the other big question is who can replace Caleb Johnson.
2022, they were 7-5 in the regular season, and they won the bowl game. So that would have gone under in 2022.
This is a tougher schedule than I thought it was, too.
It's 25th in the country, according to Power Rankings. So,
do they have? And a lot of their tougher games are at home.
I mean, they're pretty much always winning 8 games. I'm going to go over. I'm taking the over on this team.
You feel like you have to take the over because 8-4 just feels like it's normal.
They're
for
so
them.
Consistent. It's just a weird, and I get it because Caleb Johnson's gone. But like if Mark Gronowski comes in and is as good as he was in the FCS level, I mean, this team can win 9 or maybe even 10 games next year. Maybe be a dark horse playoff contender. But if not, they might struggle. But even if he doesn't play as well as he did the FCS level, I still think 8-4 is certainly possible.
I mean, legitimately, anything is better than they've had at quarterback the last 2 years. Anything. I mean, they were hoping Cade McNamara would be healthy and effective. That never really worked. I mean, it's been the worst quarterback room in the country over the last 2 years. That's what it's been. So if Gronowski, even if he's not great in a 90 like he was at the FCS, if he comes in and he gives you a mid to high 70s, something effective, then you've got a good team, and they're always going to be good on defense with Phil Parker running the show. So I think I'm with you. I'll take the over 7.5. There's some 50-50 games that could cost them there, but they find ways to win ball games, and they find ways to do it their way.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. There's like 3 games that we're definitely not going to be favored in. It's the Penn State game. They host Penn State. They host Indiana. I don't think they'll probably be favored in that one either. And then they host Oregon. Actually, ironically, host all their 3 of the hardest games.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think they could be favored in almost every other game. So I'm going to go over for Iowa too. I could see hitting under too, but yeah, I'm going over. It's kind of 3 for 3 on overs right now. I might have to find some unders pick here, Dalton, pretty soon.